across now to reporter Liezl Olivier in Cape Town, where the first Netball World Cup on African soil is currently underway. Liezl, a good afternoon to you. I mean, if you're not in Cape Town, are we really missing out on the electric World Cup energy there?
Yes, Naledi, you are really missing out on all the action. And my favorite part of the day is when the South African supporters start coming in, because you can definitely hear the South Africans when they're in the building. It's so much fun, the vibe's amazing, and it's lovely to talk to people from all over the world who's enjoying our beautiful country. This morning, Australia, as we've said, they were up first on court 1 this morning, up against Fiji, and Australia comprehensively won by 101 goals to 32. And in the other match on court 2, Wales beat Sri Lanka. And I remember Wales and Sri Lanka are two teams in our group, South Africa's group, Group C, and Wales beat the Sri Lankans 68-56. With me is Kenny and Sino to talk about this morning's matches and also what we can expect going forward today, because, like you said, Naledi, South Africa facing Jamaica, 6 o'clock this afternoon, tonight, early evening. It's a big match. But before we get to that, I think it's important to explain to our viewers how the tournament works, the competition works. It's being played in 3 stages. Maybe just explain to our viewers, I know it's quite a process and it's quite technical, but basically how does it work? Because today is the end of stage 1, preliminary, and then tomorrow preliminary stage 2, and then you'll get the playoffs. So please just explain, we've got 4 groups, 4 teams. How does it work from here on?
Okay, so how it's going to work is that the top 3 from Group A and the top 3 from Group B will form a new group, and that'll be Group F. Then the top 3 from Group C and the top 3 from Group D will form a new group, and that'll be Group G. Yes, and that'll be South Africa. Then the ones that are lower than lower than 3rd will form another group that'll be E. Okay, now how it's going to work is that it'll be a round robin. Okay, so for example, South Africa will go into Group G and we'll do a round robin. So we'll play Trinidad and Tobago, I think, New Zealand and Uganda. From there, the top 2 from each group, so Group F and Group G, will move on to the semi-finals. The ones that do not make that top will then play for 5th to 8th, I think. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that is well put and nicely explained. Well done, Kenny, because I know it can be quite tough. So this morning the Australians beat Fiji, and we spoke to Coach Stacey Marinkovic, and she said that yes, because of the way the competition is structured, they won't be facing New Zealand, South Africa or Jamaica before the semi-finals, and she said, well, her players need to show up on the day. But do you think, Sino, that could potentially be problematic, or is Australia just too good a team?
Well, Liezl, I think not that too good of a team, but if you're the champions, like Australia, or the champions that they are, it doesn't matter who they're seeing on the day. They've got a game plan and they have to execute it, whether they're playing Fiji, whether they're playing a Singapore, South Africa, New Zealand. They execute a game plan, and that's what they do. On the day, we're facing this and this is what we're doing. Doesn't matter who they're playing, regardless of who they're facing, but they just do what they are here to do. Yeah.
And also Australia has improved greatly in terms of their defence. Kenny, you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I think Australia was one of the teams that didn't have enough time, Stacey Marinkovic, in terms of training. With Stacey Marinkovic in terms of training, their Suncorp finished about 2 or 3 weeks before they actually had to come to the World Cup. So they're the least team that had time to finalise their connections. And I think it's expected that their defence will grow. It's expected that their units will grow, because the more time they spend together, the stronger those combinations and those connections become. So yes, I do agree. They've got strong defensive units. Sarah Clow, Courtney Bruce, one of the top defenders in the world. It's just a matter of them finding each other, fine-tuning those connections, and then, yeah.
Maybe we should also just mention that Malawi are currently playing Barbados, and New Zealand, the defending champions, world number 2, playing Singapore. The halftime scores, Malawi was leading Barbados 43-22 and New Zealand leading Singapore 41-9. So a slightly better performance by New Zealand, but I was expecting perhaps a bigger goal difference there.
Look, I don't know what it is, but we did feel that it could be a bigger goal difference. I don't know how it's looking now. It probably has changed. Had they got third quarter, probably stretched that margin. I believe that they did. It's just we don't know what's happening right now. So it is a better performance, but we'll see how the game ends. Yeah.
Looking forward to South Africa and Jamaica.
Yes, definitely. I think I think everyone has said that it's going to be one of the tough matches for us. It is a match I think that we would like to win, so that when we go into the next round, we able to come out of that group in second position. But I mean, if you look at the two targets on either end of the Jamaican side, it's strong targets for Jamaica, with Janelle Fowler on the shooting end, and Shamira Sterling and Latanya Wilson and Jodie Ann Ward, which is, the trifecta defensive unit. It's going to be tough for us, and I think the only thing that we really just need to focus on is being adaptable on the day, being able to fine-tune our connections, ensure that we keep ball in hand, I think Norma Plummer alluded to the fact that she wasn't happy with her passes and the clinical aspect of that, and I think today will be crucial for us to ensure that those passes are clinical.
Yeah, she said we cannot afford to let it just go by the waist. We have to keep to the ball, and we can't actually afford to make errors against a team like Jamaica. The top teams, they're so good, all of them. The margin of error is basically nothing, and that's so our girls have to be on top of their game this afternoon.
100%. We cannot afford to waste any balls. And, to our advantage, our mid-court, I think, was solid there. And like Kenny said, that, Jamaica on both ends, defensively and in the shooting circle, are really strong. So our strong point that we have to use is our mid-court. And when we have the ball, capitalize. That's all we need to do. We don't have the luxury of making silly mistakes and losing a ball, because against that team, we're not going to have, we won't be able to come back from it, and we cannot be chasing in this game. And we do actually need to, win this game for us to, when we move over to after the semis, or to get to the semis, basically, because we're going to be playing Trinidad, Uganda, and this is how we looked at it. So this is a game that we've been waiting for. I think the Proteas are ready. This is what they've been preparing for, and we're backing them. We really are. Yeah.
Yes, of course. I want to ask you. It's a few hours to go before the start of the match. What will the girls be doing now? What would Coach Norma Plummer be telling them? I mean, obviously they must be nervous. We've all been looking forward to this game. What do you think? What is going on in the camp at the moment? If you could guess.
Yeah, I think they're looking at going over what they need to achieve, going over their game plan, going over the mandate that Norma Plummer would have given them. I think the physios probably working on them to ensure that they're in tip-top shape to get onto court. And I think they're probably having a mental sort of strengthening session as well, because this is, I mean, like I said, Jamaica has one of the best players, or some of the best players in the world. Suncorp Australian League is one of the strongest leagues in the world, and out of that Jamaican outfit, there's about 6 or 7 of them that play in that Suncorp. So, I mean, it's a tough feat for us, but I don't think anything different is taking place. I think it's just business as usual. They are athletes, and they've, like Sino said, they've been preparing for this for 4 years, and this is something that they want to achieve.
A strong start, I suppose, against a side like Jamaica is vital. I know we've seen in this competition so far at this tournament that games are won in the first quarter or lost. So how important is a strong start against Jamaica, and generally how do they start? Are they strong starters?
So a strong start, Liezl, is crucial for us. Like I said earlier, is that we cannot be chasing these ladies. We're not going to be able to do that. So strong start, and then consistency. And then I also believe that third quarter, championships quarter, we need to be top form during that quarter. But strong start, because if we don't start strong, we cannot use the first quarter to warm up. We need to start strong, we need to keep strong, and we need to take it all the way, right to the end until the last whistle.
Right, so obviously it's not only South Africa and Jamaica playing. We've got 4 o'clock England versus Scotland, the two neighbours, and Uganda and Trinidad and Tobago. Stacey Marinkovic, the Australian coach, said they are keeping a close eye on, although they're not playing the bigger teams or the traditionally more stronger teams, they are keeping a close eye on them. And I suppose this is what the Proteas will do as well with Uganda and Trinidad and Tobago for the second stage. What do you think? What's going to happen with Uganda and Trinidad and Tobago? Will the African side prevail?
They have to. Those are our sisters. I think they will. And we might play them. I think we are. So they definitely will, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that they do. So yeah, they have to.
England, Scotland, what do you think is going to happen there? They must know each other so well.
Yes, they will definitely know each other, with a lot of them playing in the Vitality Super League. And obviously they've met numerous times in terms of sort of netball history. I do think England's going to take that one. If you look at Scotland, they haven't had, the start that everyone was thinking coming in under the helm of Tamsin Greenway, who is a former England Roses. So yes, I think we thought Scotland would do better in this World Cup, but yeah, I think England will definitely take that.
Zimbabwe and Tonga also playing at 6. Zimbabwe losing yesterday, which was a bit of an upset. What do you so far make of Zimbabwe's performance at this tournament?
Sure. So I remember I think it was their first game. They started really, really well in that first quarter. And it speaks to what I was saying earlier as well, where you start strong. And then if you don't continue, you're not consistent, then you lose the game. So I think they need to just focus on starting the way that they started that very first game, and then sticking to the basics. Stick to the basics, and then just be consistent. That's how you win these games, and just be clinical about it. It's going to be a very interesting game, Zimbabwe, Tonga. I think it's going to be quite physical because the Tonga team is quite physical as well. So looking forward to that game as well. I think it's going to be a really good game to watch.
What should the Zimbabwean team take away from this tournament? What lessons can be learned?
Oh, I think it's just experience. If you have teams that don't have a good domestic league or have players that are playing overseas, this is an opportunity for them to really gauge where they stand based off of the top teams in the world. So it's good for the coaching staff and it's good for the players. So I think invaluable lessons learned at the World Cup, regardless of where they come.
Right, so now at this stage we have to look at the results for the final matches in preliminary stage 1. Then the logs will be decided, and then we can start officially tomorrow with preliminary stage 2. But we are right here in Cape Town at the Cape Town International Convention Centre waiting for South Africa versus Jamaica. Cannot wait. There is a buzz and excitement.